Uh,
Oh, what do you think's worse, chemo or a 1500 meter?
oh, chemo, for sure. For sure. It's not even close.
Chemo or
Pain's completely different, but the mindset going in, this is what I like try to tell patients. The thing that's helped me, like when you're, because it's kind of like very similar to a race, like when you're getting ready, like when you're sitting in a chair or laying in a hospital bed or wherever you're getting your infusion at. The oral was a little different because I was on oral chemo at one point, and that was just kind of like taking a pill, so it didn't have the same.
Oh, like instead of
Getting like intravenously, instead of getting an IV of it. I took it every day for 6 months.
like with IV, do you feel something going in your body that?
Yeah, but it's just the thing of like the pressure of like there's a bag.
Yeah.
You know, it's like way different when you just take
Have
it.
you ever had like just a saline IV? Because those feel weird anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, I've had.
I'm sure you've had everything.
Yeah, I've had about everything, every type of infusion, but except EPO or blood, unfortunately. There wasn't really nerves around starting the chemo orally, but then like when I started getting the infusions of it, or then later the infusions of the immunotherapy treatment, which is like chemotherapy light. It's a cousin of chemo. It's targeted, where it's less of a rampant killer. Supposedly has less of side effects, even though I ended up in the hospital with side effects from it twice. It's very similar to like going into a hard workout or a race that you know is going to be really hard because it's like this is getting this is getting ready to suck. Right, and there's kind of like no way around avoiding like where you're at, what you're doing. You know, you kind of can't just like. I mean, you could black out, like as in like take something to like.
Right, but you just gotta face it. You gotta go in front of it.
Oh, you hadn't been in the gym yet?
I was at work.
Oh.
Grading paper.
You look like you've been in the gym.
I changed at school and then I realized I needed my contacts.
Can you be able to see while you live?
It makes me nervous when I can't see.
It's fair.
That's fair. That's very fair. I'm also blind. I just don't wear my glasses. But yeah, no, it's the same thing. And like one thing that kind of I realized or gave me a leg up of like this sucks, but it's necessary, which is like how that's everything of every athlete ever. Like it's how you get better. This is going to suck.
I mean, that's life. And everything. Like if you want to get better at something.
Yeah. This is going to be difficult. This is going to be hard. This is going to be challenging.
Yeah.
But it's necessary for what for in this case for me to get better.
Yeah.
And so like I kind of always had that approach with it. There was a couple times that I was dealing with the anxiety stuff that I would start to get more anxiety around it. But after you have 12, 14, 15 of them, there's kind of like less of the. Just how when you race a lot or when you do a lot of hard work, there's less of the intensity around them.
Yeah.
So that makes it a little bit easier to deal with because you know what to expect. But it doesn't change the way that it feels. It doesn't change how easy it is. It's just like you get used to it. You get used to being uncomfortable, which is what distance running is.
Yeah. Do you think being a distance runner made it easier for you?
I understand suffering. I understand, like, I've just got to ride this out, right?
Yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier, like running up Fire Tower, right? Like, you understand, like, I'm only halfway, but this is getting ready to get harder. Like, you understand that mindset of, like, all right, I just kind of got to, like, go to my place and kind of just not check out, but, like, some of the things like they do, like one of the things, especially with the immunotherapy treatments now, they give you Benadryl so your body doesn't have an allergic reaction. So that kind of like, they give you a Benadryl and a steroid at the same time. So they give you like 50 or 100 milliliters of Solu-Medrol, which is liquid prednisone. And and then they give you like 2 Benadryl. And so like the steroid like kind of cranks you up a little bit, but then the Benadryls,
Pass you out.
yeah, so like the Benadryl's like will pass out, so you're like doing this like in and out of kind of nap thing, but you're also kind of jittery at the same time. And then there's how the drug makes you feel. So that's like super. It's like a really weird, specific feeling that I don't have the appropriate vocabulary or words for at all, other than it like makes you feel really behind yourself. Kind of like, that's all I can say is like you're just kind of like. It's kind of like you feel like your body's here and you're kind of like back here. Yeah.
You ever meditate through it?
No.
Because that sounds like an out of body like meditation.
Yeah.
But
I probably should have tried that.
I don't know, like.
I was mainly just like, because like I would always try to give into the Benadryl because if you can nap through the first hour or two of it, that's because like I mean some of them took the first one I took 6 to 8 hours. The first time I got it, then they changed the dosing on it and the drip rate because like the protocol for it has changed over the last 6 years that I was getting those. So the drip rate, which like how quickly you can take the drug, had changed. The amount that they were giving you changed as well because they figured out they could give you a little less because they were actually using a protocol from lupus. They piggybacked off because like we don't
know they like.
we don't have the research. We don't have the research dollars to like invent these drugs for our disease. So like they find these other drugs that have worked, and like when they're doing research on these other drugs, they see all the other systems that they affect, and they're like, oh, that could help. That one could help us.
Like maybe.
Yeah. Well, this like that one attacked B. Like, that's how they found this. Is like, oh, well, that is having an effect on B cells. Like that's what is rampant in like this set of vasculitis patients is their B cells are out of control. And like then they figure out like which marker it is on those cells that it's affecting, and they're like, oh yeah, this is gonna work. So they had to get creative with it. But originally they just like, well, this is the protocol that was developed for it. So and it was a lot of drug, and that was the way they gave it to you. And then through time and research, they figured out they could give less and less of that drug and still achieve the same level of results with remission. It's still a good bit, but it's not like...
Right, it doesn't mess you up.
Yeah, you used to have to get 4 infusions of 500 milliliters once a week for 4 weeks, or get 1,000 every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That was the protocol. Those were the 2 options in 2013. And then my doctor did that again in 2017, but my rheumatologist did. But I also ended up with a kidney doctor at that point in time, and he does, like, he's on the forefront of research. He's been doing research with vasculitis patients for like 30 or 40 years. And he's like, that's an old protocol. We can use less drug than that.
Yeah.
That's way too much drug.
Your kidneys.
Well, it's just like for the controlling the disease, like we know now.
Right.
It's just like my doctor at the time my rheumatologist was in private practice at the time, and just he mainly, especially rheumatologists, like Dr. Falk pretty much only deals, like a large portion of his patients are vasculitis patients, whereas like my rheumatologist, a large portion of his patients are rheumatoid arthritis patients over the age of 50.
Right. 2 different.
And he's got like a handful of vasculitis patients. Like literally, when I say a handful, like less than 5.
Yeah.
Although he saved my life and on numerous occasions. So I'm incredibly grateful for him for what he has done for me. But like at that time, he was just a step behind, which happens in the way our medical system is
Set up.
is set up, and the way information is disseminated, and that's a whole nother.
That has gotten a lot better, but I'm curious what you think is... Because like with the disbursement of knowledge and information, the internet and communication is at its peak right now.
Correct.
But
there's a couple of hangups with the medical system. One is there's always been the issue with things that doctors have known that work that they can't get approved with insurance to pay for because it's a
Yeah.
considered an off-label use.
Right.
And with vasculitis and them having to treat so many different symptoms all at once, because it's systematic, so it affects, and depending on which one you're dealing with, it can affect all these different systems. So oftentimes they're kind of using drugs for off-label use, or you're dealing with a doctor that's out of state, and writing prescriptions across state lines is a nightmare. It almost cost me my kidneys, and at one point in time, I about lost them. And
Were you in Boone and trying
Yeah.
to get South Carolina?
yeah, and my doctor was in South Carolina, and at the time, I was literally on. I needed that Rituxan, which is that biological drug I was talking about. I needed that, but insurance wasn't approving it across state lines.
Yeah.
And I was like 6 hours away from my doctor, and not really capable of traveling at that point in time, unless I was airlifted. And
I don't get the state line thing. Like with the
It's-
United
it- well,
States, why can a doctor in South Carolina not treat in North Carolina? Like,
yeah, and they weren't approving it. And like if he would have written it for me in South Carolina, it was not an issue. But me having North Carolina Blue Cross Blue Shield and him being in South Carolina trying to write it,
oh, you
Right,
North Carolina health insurance?
yeah, and him being in South Carolina was never an issue with me paying or anything. But him writing it to a infusion center in North Carolina, the hang up was somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But I was struggling to get it at the time. And literally on the website for the company that makes that drug, I was listed on their website as a success story with part of my story, and I had zero access to that drug.
After this or before this? Were you listed?
Before this, I was on their website
Ah.
as a success story of somebody that had taken this drug and it had,
Yeah. So there's
And-
evidence
yes.
that it was going to work.
And there was like, because they have some like little blurbs. It wasn't like some big huge thing, but like I was on the phone with somebody from that company trying to figure out what the problem was. And I told the woman, I was like, I'm literally on your webpage
You have bio.
and I cannot get this drug right now. And she's like, well, that doesn't guarantee that you're going to get like special treatment or guarantee that you have like, this is a problem with your insurance. And I was like, I understand that, but do you not understand the absurdity in this situation? Which, of course, because of her job, she wouldn't say yes. And of course, I'm an asshole. And I wouldn't let it alone. I was like, I need this drug or I'm going to, like, my numbers are going south quickly. This is bad. Like, I need this drug. Like, I could lose my kidneys. I could die. Like, I need this drug. And I'm literally on your website as somebody that's had success with this, and I can't even get it.
Yeah.
And she just kept being like, well, just because you've been featured on our website doesn't guarantee you access to. I was like, I just want you to say yes, I understand the absurdity of this situation.
Yeah, the human compassion component, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just from one human to the other, I want you to recognize how ridiculous this is. And luckily they do have some like payment programs in this card that can like take a large chunk off of the $15,000 or $18,000 that drug costs if insurance doesn't pay for it. But like a lot of also centers, there's these issues with like, well, if insurance not paying for it, we're not going to administer it.
Yeah.
Because like they know that you're not going to
be able to afford.
Yeah. So like there's just all these like crazy like small loopholes that like people don't really understand when they're saying like, oh, like I love my insurance, I want to keep my insurance, or oh, I'm afraid of Medicare for all or whatever. It's like the system is so screwed up. It needs to be nuked and start over. And it's going to be difficult. And
do you think if every senator had an experience that you just had like that, the healthcare would change overnight?
no.
You don't think that they all were like on their deathbed?
Senators? Absolutely not, because the health insurance market and the pharmaceutical industry and the medical supply industry continues to line their pockets with campaign dollars to make sure that they don't, and they'll continue to make sure they spend billions of dollars every year to make sure that doesn't happen. The narrative, because like when you sit down with somebody, you explain these things, or you talk to somebody that's had because like my story's not unique with this. There's better ways to deal with this. Like working with the Vasculitis Foundation, I talk with patients all over the country. A lot of them live in countries where there is like universal health care for the citizens of their country. That's unless you're getting like the fat trimmed off of your chin because you don't like your double chin, like you've got access at the point of care because it comes out of your tax dollars. And like what everybody doesn't understand is that like it's kind of like if you think about the Netflix model. Netflix has been able to make a lot of stuff because a lot of people are paying into one pot of thing, and they can provide an amazing level of product because so many people are paying a small amount of money into one giant pot. Which is right now with everybody having so many different insurances, everybody's lost their collective bargaining agreement. Mm-hmm. And so everybody's paying into all these different things, so everybody's costs are high. And because everybody's costs are getting higher and higher and higher, nobody can afford it, so the costs keep getting higher and higher and higher. And we're paying, that's why when they do all those studies, like the Koch brothers tried to prove that Medicare for all was a bad idea and did a study. And it came out
the way that they wanted it to.
Not the way that they wanted it to.
Oh, really?
No, it came out that we are spending way too much money.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the most conservative group of people in this country
tried to rig a study and it didn't.
Tried to pay for a study to prove that it was worse, and they were proven wrong.
Yeah.
And until people stick their nose to the grindstone and really, how we get there, that's up to people that are way smarter than me. But we can do a lot better than we can do. And too many people, like, greed doesn't need to affect people's access to healthcare. Because, like, if I hear one more time, like, well, the government will then decide who can live or die. Insurance companies are currently doing that.
But see, I think
medical companies are currently doing
what you said earlier, like everybody lining the senator's pockets and the ad pockets. It's like this campaign to make us think that.
Yeah.
But if everybody just at the root of it, we would all agree that healthcare is a human right. Like you should live. You shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
We all agree on that. But it's just been like this campaign to manipulate it and say, oh, if we give it to everybody, it's going to be the government's going to. And that's the lie that the health insurance company or like are spitting, not what's the
and that's honestly like the brilliance of, I think, because this is primarily at this point in time where we currently are in 2019. That's primarily like the Republican Party that's can try to continue to. There are still a lot of Democrats that are not completely on board with it, but more and more of them are signing on, and that's primarily talking point of the right. And one thing that they do a fantastic job of is getting people to vote against their own interest.
Right. It's amazing.
It is absolutely, like, they should be applauded for what they've been able to do.
Very clever.
It's because they continually have people that are a large part of their base is voting against things that would be better for them.
Yeah, the majority of people would benefit from free healthcare. The majority,
and that's and it's not free because it's free at the point of service, but like
either way, it's being paid for by somebody.
Yeah, it's being paid for by everybody.
Well, what I think people don't understand either is like if it's the current system and you're like, well, I just want to pay for my health insurance.
Yeah.
Your health insurance is higher. Your bills are higher because the hospital has to treat people who don't have health insurance, who can't pay their bills, and so they have to then push that onto you. Yeah. So if instead of that model, everybody chipped in to the beginning and we just distributed, it's going to be the same. Like,
well, it's going to be cheaper because
it's going to be one pot.
You're cutting out a middleman.
Yeah. And
you're also not allowing the cost of it to get outrageous because then everybody then has collective bargaining agreements. Like, you can't charge me $1,500 for an X-ray.
Right. I think it's crazy that we don't have like a universal an X-ray costs you $100. Like, that's not like
you
in
can
South
go to
Carolina, California. It's going to be $1,000 or $100.
No, it's not even South Carolina. It's 5 different people that walk into the same emergency room and need something X-ray will have 5 different prices for it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And like one thing Trump and them would try to do is like try to make it more transparent, which would be great. But like if you know what you're doing, you can at times get that information out of the hospital. It is a pain in the rear. And like, there was a great New York Times, or no, is it? Time Magazine article. Probably 5 years ago at this point, 4 years ago. The title of the article was like A Bitter Pill to Swallow. And it was about the whole healthcare industry and how all of this really breaks down. And they were talking about like the obscene medical bills and how that all happens. And they were following these different patients and getting all the trying to help them get all the information from the hospitals and stuff. And like a lot of people don't even realize, like, before these bills all go out to collections, like, you can settle with the hospital for less often than they're even trying to charge you. And most people don't even know that.
Yeah.
And as long as you continue to make some sort of payment, whether it's $15 or $25 for them, they cannot legally send your stuff to collections. And then the other thing people don't know is after a year, they all they sell off your debt to these private debt collectors, and then it's off their books. They then write that off.
Oh, and they get a tax break for it.
And they get a tax break for it.
Nice.
And then you're stuck paying somebody that's not the hospital that has then already written off that debt, and you're then stuck with something that is going to hound you anytime you try to do something.
Yeah.
Because it's been sold to debt collectors.
Yeah.
So it's a vicious, it's a terrible cycle, and so many people get stuck in it, and you know nothing about it. And there's so much fine print in when you sign up for health insurance, and there's clauses in all of them. It's like, these terms are subject to change without notification. Like, there's that in almost everybody's healthcare thing. So like, the insurance companies oftentimes can just decide not to, they can decide to change policies or change how they build stuff or what they will and won't pay for, like, in the middle of a contract they have with you. So it's a crooked system, and we all suffer from it. And we have a group of people that are being, like, propped up by money that are telling everybody, no, this is the best system for you. Everybody loves their private health care. We don't want the government to tell us. It's like, as we kind of like said the other day, it's like the government is supposed to be by the people, ultimately, like, elected. The officials there are supposed to be elected by us to represent us and our interests. But that, like, with the money that is now in politics, those people are no longer representing our interests. They're representing the people that helped put them in office. And that's like, well, the brilliance of that is like...
Are you saying the people that helped them, like the people who paid for their campaign? Or
yeah,
the people who
it's like the giant contributions, like when these corporations can contribute. Because like an individual donor has a cap, I think it's $3,000.
Yeah.
Is the individual cap that a person can give a campaign. But a super PAC can take unlimited funds and then help a candidate out. They can take unlimited amount of money from corporations.
Yeah.
Unlimited amounts of money. And then those lobbyists and delegates, like, and those super PACs help prop up the DNC, the RNC. And then when you're a Democrat or Republican and you're trying to run for office, if you don't have your party's backing, it's nearly impossible to get into the system.
Dude, have you heard about Democracy Bucks?
Is that like the publicly funded election stuff or no?
Sort of like Andrew Yang was talking about doing it, but they did in Portland, I believe. Like, so the government decided that every person in the county or the city would get 100 Democracy Bucks.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, that's what, yeah.
And you had 4 $25 vouchers you got to give to anybody. And so like low level people could now get $100 from you, $100 from me, and it adds up because I donated to a campaign to like $10. Like,
yeah.
But if I have $100 I can give, and we are giving $100, then you can give a small person a lot of money and they can get into it without it just being big money.
Yeah, so that's what they're talking about. Like, that's one of the big pushes. There's 2 big pushes right now to kind of change how our thing. There's the publicly funded campaigns, which is what you're talking about, which is like giving everybody, like taking a section of the tax dollars that are in every area or in the country or whatever, whether it's for a presidential race or whether it's for a local county council, and giving you money to contribute, giving everybody the same amount of money, and they get to determine where that money goes to which which delegate is running for office. Then the other big thing right now is like trying to abolish the Electoral College, which is a nightmare and not something I really even know how to have an opinion on. Because I've heard both arguments and I don't know what the right answer is on that.
Yeah.
So I think the probably the better way is the publicly funded elections, where you can take these like special interest groups and giant corporations that have been able to pull more and more power away from the people and the working class people in this country. Because there are a lot of people are suffering. A lot of people working 2 and 3 jobs, and that's why I think the unemployment rate's so low, is because so many people have to work so hard.
Yeah.
It's like, but there can't be unless the husband's making, or the wife is, or mom or dad or whoever is like. Very few households have just like a single income anymore. Like most people have to have both parents working. If both parents can't work and it's a single family home or single parent home, mom or dad's working 2 jobs.
Yeah.
At least. So the system right now is not working for everybody, and like we're all suffering, and that's what sucks, is the people that are supposed to be representing us aren't really representing us. There's a few that are. They're not all.
Yeah. But no, it's it sucks that like you have corporations and individuals who give so much money that then determine the influence of the country rather than the people speaking the voice. Like a few people get to decide where we go.
Yeah. Like like Ryan said the other night, if we are at the point in time of technology where like if you don't have a cell phone, send me something to my house in the mail, and like let's vote on everything.
Dude, everybody, like for a very small amount of tax dollars, everybody could be given just a flip phone for like $10 to vote on.
Yeah, that, or like even if it's stuff that's sent to an address or sent to a house or a place that they can go, like a voting place to vote on an issue.
Yeah.
Like, why are we not voting? Like, why are we not voting on like as a country on marijuana? Right.
But then, well, we do
it's a country. Because it's still federally.
Federal level.
Yeah, there's states, whatever, 11 states or 12 states that have decided to like put it on the ballot. Or actually, the first it was in New Jersey or Michigan. One of the first states is one of the first states that it wasn't voted on. It was actually pushed through their state Congress, their state legislature. It was the first time it wasn't a ballot issue, and it was put through the state legislature and got passed. But like that, or like getting them like, because there's that Citizens United, which is the thing that allowed the corporation to give so much money. Like, why are we not all voting to like get rid of that?
Yeah.
My one pushback to that would be we would then all have to be educated on all the issues. So you do vote for somebody who was then educated on, like, can read up on all the issues, and that's not your full-time job, that's their full-time job. But at least for like voting on them,
I've got a great
should be
solution to
easy.
that.
That's
Our populace is so poorly educated.
we should educate them.
Because guess what we've done? Politicians have taken all the money out of education, and we have a populace that understands so little about the civics of how this country works.
You don't agree with Betsy DeVos's idea of putting everybody into charter schools?
What do you think? Right?
Dude, did you know it's like if you go to a charter school, like you get $1,000 or something like that.
Oh, I don't know what it is, but like, yeah, there's all kinds of, yeah. And once again, that's public money that is going to private institutions that don't have to follow the rules.
Yeah.
Right? They're taking our tax, like what's infuriating about that is like you're taking our tax dollars, that like we've set up these rules with public education. Like if somebody chooses because of their means or a scholarship that they wanted to get or whatever to put their kid in a private school, that's fine. But the public shouldn't be paying for that kid to go to a private school.
No, right.
Right. Because like those private schools also don't have to follow the rules.
Right. I was trying to like think about how that relates to healthcare, but it's a little different.
Yeah, it's kind of hard.
The public. Really, no, kind of like Obamacare, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
The taxpayers then go and I get a stipend because I don't make enough money, and then the taxpayer pay me to get private health.
Well,
it's government healthcare.
So like if everybody had government health care, which is like what you have, everybody has access to public education.
Yeah.
Right. And so if everybody had access to this, that would be like you choosing to get an insurance plan to get elective surgeries, right? So like you wanted to get butt implants, right? And you wanted to purchase private health insurance. Like, the people are like, no, that's too far. We have decided that, like, that's a line that we're not going to pay for,
Yeah.
right? Because of in this like, you know, national healthcare system, we're like, no, that's too far.
Yeah.
Like, cosmetic, you want to feel better about your butt for Instagram. That's like, if you want to pay for that yourself, go right ahead. If you want to purchase insurance that's going to help you pay for that, that's on you.
Yeah.
But then, like, our tax dollars, no.
Do you believe in universal basic income?
I like the idea. It is a very tricky subject, but it's also, I think the conversation is going to change as more jobs are automated, because more and more places are like, whether it's truck drivers because their whole industry,
Tesla.
yeah, which are, like, those are great things. Like, innovation's amazing, and I understand that, and like, I have a lot of, like, socialist beliefs, but I still like, that's why I kind of like Bernie Sanders, because, like, you understand that, like, innovations happen through these people trying to do really great big things that are going to net them
A lot of money.
a lot of money. And I don't begrudge people for doing that, but it's when those people, and I think Walmart and Jeff Bezos and Amazon are great examples of how you abuse the system, right? Like, they pay their employees so little that, like, the rest of us have to subsidize them, because so many of them are on welfare or food stamps, and they're having to work 40 or 50 hours a week, and they're still not making enough money to cover all of their expenses. The rest of us are subsidizing that, right? When that's really on them to pay them more, because they should. Because, like, when you look at the amount of money they've been able to make, and what the amount of money, and, you know, with inflation, everything's gone up, and, like, minimum wage hasn't gone up, and they've been able to pocket so much money because of that, and keep wages so low, and they continue to make more money. They're making money off the backs of us. And, like, I compare it, like, if you think about a village of, like, 50 people, you then have, instead of, like, you know, even if you have, like, a leader and people that all have their jobs, some jobs net more, some people's huts are a little nicer than others, but, like, then there's all of a sudden this one guy over here that everybody starts working for, and then he just kind of walls himself off and doesn't contribute back. So he's found a way to employ everybody else around him, and they're all taken and they're all given to him, and he's only giving minor pieces back.
Yeah.
And then everybody else starts suffering. That's kind of like what happens with these, like, giant corporations and all these, like, places around here. Like, very few places you go anymore, the dollars are all going up. They're not helping communities, right? People are having basic jobs, but there's so many local places are gone. So many small businesses owners are gone because they either ultimately get bought out or they get out competing. And, like, you have to be somebody to start a small bit. Like, how many mom and pop stores existed in this year by just, like, general people that were willing to work hard? Like, to succeed now in that sort of market, you have to be brilliant. You have to be well above average, because you can't compete against Walmart. You can't compete against Target. You can't compete against Apple. You can't compete against Facebook. You know, you can't, like, these small things, like, a few succeed, and they're like, look, this one did, and it's like, but that's like saying, oh, well,
10,000 people tried. Before that
yeah,
happened.
yeah. And it's like every community in this country used to be, like, full of those mom and pop success stories that have all, and that's like when you have a mom and pop store, that money stays there. Yeah, they have to buy things, and that goes away a little bit, but that, you know, they're buying stuff and things.
But so I'll argue back then, like, because the Amazons of the world pushed all the mom and pop stores out, you benefit because everything is cheaper. Amazon figured out a way to make it more efficient. Whereas if you had 10,000 mom and pop stores doing what one Amazon does, then all the prices had to be higher. So Amazon made everything cheaper. And because it's cheaper for you, you have more money in your pocket, but you also have less money because you're not making any money.
You're not making it. That's the other problem. The other problem, because, like, you hear that argument a lot. It's like, but the problem is like, things have stayed, like, roughly cheaper because of those things, but people aren't making any more money, and not everything is cheaper. Stuff from Amazon is cheaper,
Right.
but, like, gas isn't cheaper than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Like, when they set the minimum wage in 2005 or 2007, or whatever, it moved to $7.25.
Yeah.
Like gas was, when I started driving in 2004, gas was $1.10.
But I guess my pushback would be if we stuck with the mom and pop model, it'd be like going back where you had to make your own clothes. I mean, it's just another level up. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you have to do all the things within the one community, but because Amazon automates all that, sends it all out, then people have that easily and efficiently, and you can focus on different things.
Correct.
And so it kind of pushes society forward for more innovation and makes those things easier that we can then focus on other things. But if people don't have jobs because Amazon is one thing that
Yeah, if you lose local jobs and you also lose, I just lost my train of thought. This is what I was kind of talking about with it. Everything going up and nothing coming back. Those corporations are taking everything, but also not paying taxes that help everybody, right?
Yeah,
Right.
that's a whole other issue. But yeah,
But it's part of the equation,
Yeah.
right? Because they're not giving back and contributing back, so they're
that's
they're costing all of us money,
Right.
and then also not contributing back to what. Like if they were paying everybody more, it wouldn't be as big of an issue.
So there's a couple things here. Like if you tax them, then they might leave, and if they leave, then they take away everything that they fucked. And then, like if at the government level we tax them, then they'll just take their business corporation somewhere else, and then the jobs leave the country. So like that's one of them.
They've all already left.
A lot of them. Yeah.
I live in a town where that happened. They all left.
But so like there's what is it, Kansas, I think.
NAFTA with everybody left with NAFTA in the 90s.
Well, okay, so what I'm like Kansas City
Yeah.
sits halfway in like Kansas and Missouri. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like corporations will jump back and forth yearly based on
Yeah.
which state is like, you don't have to pay taxes
Yeah.
here, and so
That's why all the major bank stuff's in Delaware.
yeah, because they don't pay taxes. Yeah, so that's a weird one.
And that's why Amazon's also in Washington State because they have no income tax there.
Right.
So
It's fucked up loopholes, but like it's like shitty games that the government has to play almost because the corporations have them by the nuts.
yeah, but like if like Ford and General Motors and all these amazing companies that were founded in the early 1900s that have been
It's
institutions
like
of
Yale
America.
not, dude, it's
they-
like Yale not paying taxes.
Yeah, like all these amazing institutions once had like invented the things that were the basics of our entire economy now survived with higher tax rates.
Well, I'm not saying that
Yeah.
they couldn't survive. I'm saying that the corporations have the power to say we can go wherever we want, and we will if you.
But if they, and this is where the power of like the government and when somebody sits down and negotiates, like, well, you leave, then we're going to tariff you when you come back.
yeah,
Because if you leave, it's got to come back,
yeah,
right? So if
gotta
you
sell
leave,
it. If you want to sell it to the,
if you want to sell it, it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
So then you get the tax that way. All right, if you want to take that job elsewhere, there's a real simple solution to that. We'll get it that way.
Yeah.
So you get it this way or that way. But they're like, no, we're not going to have it either way. So where are you going to go? Who are you going to sell it to?
Yeah.
If you want to move your business to China and sell to the Chinese, go ahead. But if you want to sell in this country,
right,
you've got to contribute.
Right.
Right. Like we're all, and this is what I think is so frustrating. Like we've had these moments in time where we were all on the same. We're all like we're supposed to be, and like this is like the ideal of America. Like we're all on the same team.
I mean, as a world, we're supposed to be, but we don't all agree
Yeah.
on that one.
We don't all agree on that one, but like at least in America,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
we're all supposed to be on the same team. We're all supposed to be Team America.
Somebody just told me recently that like your team before people start fighting is like the max you can get to is like 14 people, and then people start to subdivide and group off.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I've heard like more like civil like groups more than 50 is where stuff gets like super complex.
Yeah.
The dynamics of how people interact
The
is super
solution?
complex.
Was that you get groups of 14, and then you get those 14 groups to group up with 14 more groups, and those 14 groups to group up with different groups. Then that's never more than 14.
As long as everybody's in groups of 14, we're fine.
Yeah.
If your group has 15, you've got to either kill one.
Your family is allowed to get to 14 people,
Yeah.
and then no more babies. If you have twins, you gotta pick one.
I think China decided what it was like one, so you're
One.
your family of 3.
Unless you live really, really old.
Yeah. So that like if like you're supposed to want to contribute and help out, and like like I get really frustrated when I hear about like, oh well, like such and such donated $1 million or $5 million of this. And it's like, but they're donating because it's a tax benefit and they're not paying taxes that are all helping all of these stuff and all these foundations and these like, oh well, they contributed to this group that's helping pay people's medical bills. It's like we wouldn't be having to do that if everybody was paying their part of it.
Yeah.
And like even back to the small business thing with like the health insurance stuff, like one of the things that's boggled my mind, and I used to have this conversation with my high school buddy McGinnis, who's on the opposite end of the political spectrum. He and I have been arguing over this stuff for 17 years now. And like that takes the burden off the business, because like being a small business and trying to provide health insurance for your employees is your largest expense. Unless you're buying a ton of product and you got a lot of money moving in and out. Like as
Your
far as
employees
like,
tend to be your biggest.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is your biggest expense, and like that was not even something that companies were saddled with until like I believe like the 60s or 50s. Like started being this bonus thing that they started trying to offer people instead of paying them more money. They're like, why don't we pay for your health insurance? And then it just became a norm. And then it's just like this stuff isn't even maddening, because like you lose your job and you lose your access to health care. If you just change jobs, sometimes if you change jobs at the wrong time of year, you can't get health insurance.
Right. Oh, okay. So you're trying to advocate that it should be on the government, not that.
Well, it should be on all of us. And not like I hate calling it the government, but it should be us. We're all paying into the same thing, the same pot, right? It doesn't matter who you work for, whether you work for yourself, whether you work at Chick-fil-A, or whether you work at Walmart, or whether you work at the mom and pop convenience store,
Right.
or whether you're wheeling and dealing and selling dollar water bottles in Washington, D.C. on the side of the street, right? Like, what your job is shouldn't determine your access to life-saving care and what you pay for it. And like that's why everybody's costs are so different and so outrageous. Like, it's because like everybody, like I said, like everybody's paying into so many different pots.
Yeah, and I'll just go back to the fact that even if you don't pay on that front end, you're paying on the back end because your health insurance costs are high, or like your healthcare costs. Are high.
It was Bernie or Yang or one of those guys did the breakdown. It's like because like the brilliance of the Republicans. I was talking about. It's like they love to spin it where it's like, well, your taxes are going to go up.
Right, exactly. You're going to pay it either on the front end or you're going to pay it on the back end.
Your
Like at some point,
are go up. So your tax bill might go up $100.
Yeah.
But guess what? You're not going to have to pay your $500 health insurance.
Yeah.
Your $600 health insurance. Your $700 health insurance. Family of 5, $1,200 every month. But your tax bill might be $100 now. So your taxes are going to go up. But guess what? You're not going to have to pay.
I don't have health insurance right now, so which is good for me.
Yeah, there's a couple of patients that have just gone ahead and rolled the dice because like they were having trouble getting because there's kind of a loophole to the system that people that are
uninsured.
If you're uninsured and you can't afford it, like ER still have to treat you.
Yeah, and then you just get saddled with the bill and you throw it off.
You basically, if you file for bankruptcy and everything, so like there are some patients that I know that have basically just been like, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
I can't keep up. I can't. And, I'm tired of like being denied things, and they're just like, they go without. And so like if something major happens, or like, just even the fact of them trying to find a primary care doctor or go get, it can kind of turn into an ordeal, but like,
Right.
It's honestly like too, it's like one of the reasons, there's many, but it's like one of the reasons, like there's several other young adults I've talked to. It's like, it's what has kept some of us from getting married, because like your medical debt can be transferred to your spouse when you die. And so like, if you were to die.
Yeah.
And so like, if Ryan and I were married and like I ended up in a really bad situation, and all of a sudden I pass away, and the hospital's like, you owe us $68,000 for all the stuff we've been trying to do to save his life.
Yeah. Wow. You get divorced really fast.
Yeah. Yeah. She's like,
I never knew him.
He's dead, but we are getting divorced. He's not mine anymore. I don't want him. I just want to be by myself.
Gonna get the cat now.
Gonna get a cat. Maybe 2, maybe 4. But yeah, no, I can talk about this because it's, like I tell people when they ask me why I vote a certain way or whatever, it's like I have one issue that I vote on, right?
If Donald Trump were to fix he was gonna run on a platform and say he was gonna fix healthcare.
I have obviously issues. I have some issues with the current president of the United States and Donald Trump. But anybody that will fix things or do the right thing, I don't care what side of the aisle they're on.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree with that.
I really don't. If Ted Cruz came out tomorrow and was like, I believe we should fix our healthcare system and this is how I believe we should do it.
You're forgiving him assassinating.
Yeah, well, I know his dad killed Kennedy. But like, I would forgive him if we had, universal health care.
Yeah.
I would forgive him for that. I really would. And that's a sad burden that I'm sorry that his family has been saddled with for so long.
Yeah, I think society would get behind that one.
He really overcame a lot in life. But like, I mean, if he did what he actually said he was doing, was getting out of these like wars and stuff, I would be all for it. It's a bit of a smoke and mirror thing, the way that they say they're getting out of them, but they're just moving people around.
Dude,
like when people do something that's good, and I think that's why we've gotten, I think, so divided thanks to like social media and Twitter stuff. Like I've got a neighbor across the street that in 6 months I know is going to put up a giant Trump flag. I get along wonderfully with the guy.
Yeah.
Him and my girlfriend share construction tools because they both do all these home projects. We stand out in the street and talk. He is a great person. He's invited us in our home. He's given us food. Like, he is a genuinely nice person. And I had, like, so what, he voted for Donald Trump. He's not a terrible person.
Right.
He's not a terrible person. And that's where I think both sides have gotten so bad and the left is eating itself as far as, like, how they're all arguing amongst themselves. It's like, if somebody comes out and fixes, I don't care whether they're on the right or left. It's not what it should be about. It should be about all of us trying to find how we can do this better. Because that's like American exceptionalism, right? Like, we are supposed to be better.
Right. See, I think my biggest insight recently was that we agree on so much more than what we think. Like, we're told we're on this side or this side, so you must disagree on every platform or whatever. Like, you're left, you're right, you don't agree on anything. But really, at the root cause of almost all of them, we kind of all agree on so many different things. Like, people shouldn't die because they don't have access to medicine.
Yeah.
We all probably agree on that. It's just
there's one asshole here or there, but
yeah.
but like
we all just
there's one libertarian here or there that just wants anarchy.
I mean, survival of the fittest. Let's be real. But that we just bicker on how it should be done, or like the propaganda of oh no, like they're wrong, so like don't vote for them. Like the right saying your tax bill is going to go up, so like they're just
being disingenuous. Both people are being disingenuous.
But if you just sat down the two voters, they would agree, like, on the principle of the matter.
Yeah.
They might just disagree on how we go about doing it, but like as humanity, we all agree that we should all be treated fairly and be given access to healthcare.
Or just like try to work towards being better.
Right.
Like, that's what all of this really boils down to. Is like we're all trying to figure out how to be better off. Like, we're getting more resources than we've ever had access to, as far as we know on this planet.
I mean, the aliens back in the day.
Yeah, ancient aliens is a fun rabbit hole to go down. But we all have these amazing resources, and things are only going to get better. Medicine's only going to get better. Technology's only going to get better. And making sure that everybody has access to those things that improve all of our lives is something that everybody wants, outside of the few tree-hugging hippies that want to, like, throw all the technology away and
Yeah.
run around naked. But like,
They can free
and
ball.
howl
We
at the
can, we
moon.
can make a compromise.
But like, you can, like, there's a better way to communicate and do all this. It's not, you know, being disingenuous about all of it. And it's like when people sit down at a table and try to have an actual conversation, like, and you're the same way because you travel a lot. You travel probably even more so than me and been to way more exotic places than I've been.
I mean, I've seen.
You were a doctor in Kenya for like
I've seen
a minute,
lot,
right? Yeah.
a lot of different cultures and a lot of different people having different beliefs. But at the root of it, even though like we'll disagree on 1,000 different things, I think we agree on the basic principles. Like the basic principles of humanity, we all universally agree on it. And then we start bickering over these details of how to get better. But like we all just want to make a better society.
Be nice to people, man.
Yeah. There's a handful of people I've met that don't believe in that one, but like
Yeah. Yeah, but like most people, wherever they are, like if you're friendly to them, I mean, and everybody has a bad day, but like most people, like if you're friendly to them and nice towards them, they're going to be nice and friendly in return. Now we all have bad interactions with people. I blew up at a lady on the phone the other day over an HVAC system. You know, it was nothing against her personally. It was the way her business was handling it, and you know, but it was nothing against her personally.
Yeah.
But like if her and I ran into each other at a bar and struck up a conversation, I'm sure we would have a lot in common, a lot more in common than
yeah,
I would.
than what we think.
Yeah,
You know, from the aisles that are drawn.
yeah, and you find that out when you do meet a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life in a lot of different parts of the country. You know, whether it's the Northeast, the Northwest, the Southwest, the Plains. I've been to every section, almost, not every state, but every section of this country.
Yeah.
And I've met people everywhere I go there, whether I wanted to or not. Because some people apparently on the airplane they still want to talk even if you've got headphones and your beanie over your face. They still feel the need to talk to you. You meet people and you talk to them and you can have a cordial conversation and not kill each other and not throw shade at somebody or not have to subtweet somebody or
Yeah.
not be like, we're canceling you.
It's like the anonymity. I think I said that word right. Of
It's a big word, sir.
right. Of like social media lets you.
I need another water. Huh?
I'll take another cookie.
This is the life we live now. Did I tell you why I started drinking bubbly water? So, you know, when I was on all these treatments, I learned that it wasn't good for me to
That was
drink.
perfect timing.
It was later in life I learned I probably shouldn't be drinking alcohol on chemotherapy.
No way,
I read it somewhere.
dude. Did you have to read that one?
I think I actually did.
You're like, no. Let's go.
No, I think I'm good.
Google will back me up. WebMD.
Yeah, Dr. Google, actually. Dr. Google told me.
Dude, wait. Fun fact: it's actually not bad to drink alcohol when you're pregnant, but they don't know what the limit is, so they just tell women you shouldn't. But like, you technically could have like 1 drink a week and not cause fetal alcohol syndrome. But
well, luckily, I know it's 2019, this might come as a shocker, but I can't get pregnant.
what?
Yeah.
Man, you've been fooling me.
I know some people might want to argue with that, but,
I've been trying to get you knocked up for years.
and where has it gotten you? I'm not even on birth control, and you haven't been able to knock me up. I'm just saying, it hasn't happened.
It's true.
It hasn't happened.
But sorry, back to the.
I'm not pregnant. Never have been. I've had a mammogram though, but no, I've not been pregnant.
Do you think? I mean, women should have to pay for tampons? Because there's no comparable thing for men.
No, there's not. There's certainly not. No. If I'm bleeding from something regularly,
I feel like society as a
it's
whole
it's an
should take
issue.
care of that one.
I could get on board with that. If it costs me $5 extra a month, Although my bank account might not have there's been a couple times that $5 might have broken me. It might have been the difference. But the majority of the time, if it costs me, you think the U.S. could do that for $1 a person?
Yeah, if you took it out of private industry, you would make a fucking tampon for a few pennies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they're making them for pennies anyway.
I support a
They're
charity.
just not selling them for pennies.
A charity in Kenya where they give girls like reusable tampons.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's pretty cheap. Like, it's pennies that you have to donate to like give 10 girls
Yeah.
access.
Well, it's kind of like Bill Gates is it Bill Gates that does like the clean
Bill
water
Gates.
thing?
Yeah, it's Bill.
Yeah,
The
it's like
pink water.
it costs like pennies to give people access to clean water that don't have it. So yeah, no, I could get on board with that. I mean, I can't really think of an argument. I'm trying to think of it. I'm trying to sit here and come up with an argument against it, and there's probably some people that might for religious reasons, which is stupid. But I can't really. I mean, I guess if they won't, they should be. Yeah, there should be something standard that they should be able to get.
Right.
Whether it's a tampon or a pad or whatever there should be some standard options that they should have access to for free.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like colleges giving out condoms.
They birth
everybody.
everyone.
Everyone. You were birthed by
It is that is for childbirth, for having to go through the childbirth, that is the least we could do for the women on this planet. Honestly, like when I think about that now, it's kind of absurd that we don't.
Yeah, dude, it is.
Like,
I was told about this recently, and I'm like, oh, that's the thing now. It's like a movement about it.
I'm on board. They got me. Do I have to wear a pink hat? What do I have to do? A red hat?
A bloody red hat.
A bloody red? No. God, red hats have been taken over. You can't use a red hat anymore.
It's true.
Red hats have been taken. It's funny when if you just see a red hat, if you just see a red hat, it doesn't. I've contemplated, and I've just contemplated wearing red hats. Well, I wear a lot of
people
red.
who wear the MAGAs ironically like make athletics great again or whatever.
Yeah, there are people that have like
That though it's like risky. It's like because
Yeah.
if I just see it from afar, I'm gonna think one thing, and
Yeah.
I don't read it.
Well, and like you've been to DC, and like you see like the people that are peddling them to like high school kids and stuff, like those guys that wheel and deal with like all the counterfeit stuff in these big cities. Like you can buy those hats for $5.
Yeah.
And like there are people like a 17-year-old Brandon would do something stupid like wear one ironically in like to try to be funny and not realizing because I'm not old enough, like that probably wasn't smart, but like, you know, I would probably wear one with like a dress on or something.
Yeah.
Just to be like, you know.
Like Bud Galloway being a gay racist.
Yes.
Dude,
Maybe my Trump supporting neighbor who's been abducted by aliens and smokes lots of weed should
maybe he's just being ironic. He's been playing.
It is really funny to
He's
see
saying
like
whole
it is
lot.
really funny to see like the MAGA hat with the tie-dye t-shirt. I'm just saying it's really weird. Like when you've done so much acid and fried your brain
Those
you're
two
wearing
things.
you're wearing a tie-dye t-shirt from the 70s and you got a MAGA hat on. You're just like, ugh.
He probably wants to make America back great like it was in the 70s.
Yeah.
Let's bring acid back.
Yeah, he's just like, let's bring it back. Actually, I'm just trying to go back to that one trip before it got bad. I'm trying to get back. I'm trying to make.
Before the aliens.
Can we make acid great again?
I think that's what it's always meant to be. Dude, but I want to hear
Matt.
this.
That's Matt. And that's Matt. MAAA. Make acid great. Yeah, no,
it's MAGA. It's
MAGA.
make acid great again.
Yeah,
Yeah. Come on, man. We can spell. We went to app.
I thought there was an extra A in there. MAGA. Dude, I failed English in high school, and they let me write a book.
Yeah.
I'm a published research author too. Like,
Dude, it is amazing. You got a published article and a published book.
I forget about that sometimes. I don't do a good enough job of marketing myself to people.
As a researcher too. I mean, just in general, yeah.
Like I'm terrible. at
Your
it.
story is fascinating. Like your story is one of those things that they make a movie about.